printer which can print as many as 1,000 lines a second. There are now many forms of automatic printer suitable for connection to a computer, but for a really fast computer, even these speeds may not be good enough. The big machines take most of their data from magnetic tape, as we see here, like the kind used for recording sound or television programs, and it can record its results in the same form. The coding here takes the form of very tiny magnetized patches on the surface, each representing one binary digit or bit. And the machine can read or record, say, 500,000 of these in a second. The tape itself is not much use to ordinary humans because they can't read what's written on it. It usually goes back into the computer or into another one for printing out in a readable form or for some other calculation. In fact, putting numbers onto a reel of magnetic tape is a way of storing them. Magnetic recording is also used in some other devices which supplement the store of a computer by coating the magnetic material on a drum or a disc, which is made to rotate at a very high speed with reading heads mounted close to it. And a very large number of binary digits can be stored fairly cheaply in this way. Access to it is not so fast as it is to a magnetic core store, but fast enough to be useful, and it provides a kind of backing up store in cases where you really want to hold a great many numbers inside the computer, say more than 100,000 or so. Here is an example of a piece of magnetic tape. This is the kind that you saw being mounted onto that machine just now. And quite a short length of this tape, say that much, can hold quite a lot of information. It would be possible, for example, to code on that short piece of tape all the words that I've been saying to you today, and the computer could read them all back again in about a quarter of a second or so. So the whole computer is really quite a box of tricks, with several parts all linked together and with coded numbers rushing from place to place at great speed. Arithmetical operations following one another every few millionths of a second without a pause, and it may do 10,000 of them while you blink. Last time we saw the two main parts of the computer, the arithmetical unit and the store, and now we've seen some of the other parts that we also need. We may perhaps have a card reader, for example, for feeding data in. It usually goes straight into the store unit. This is probably a magnetic core store in a modern computer. And perhaps a fast printer for printing out the results. Again, this will probably take its information directly from the store for printing. And perhaps a magnetic drum, which acts as a backing up store to provide a greater store capacity, which can take numbers from the core store when you want to store them for a long period of time and send them back to the core store again when they're wanted. And we should probably have some magnetic tape units like the one that we've just seen, which can take information from the store and record it on magnetic tape, or read the tape back again and send the information back into the store. In fact, our computer would probably have several of these magnetic tape machines. Let's put 5 of them up here, each of them capable of taking information from the store or reading it off the tape and sending it back to the store again. The store, in fact, acts as a kind of shunting box with information coming and going from various different directions in great confusion. In fact, somehow we've got to see that the right operations are done on the right numbers in the right sequence so that the results don't get all mixed up inside the store. How do we do this? We obviously need some sort of master control unit that will keep the rest of the machine doing the right things. Something that will send controlling signals to all the other parts of the machine, telling them what to do and when to do it. So the control unit controls everything else in the machine. But now, how are we going to tell the control unit what it has to do? To solve this one, the computer designers took another idea from their predecessor, Charles Babbage, whom we saw last week, you remember. They arranged for the computer to follow a program of instructions, each specifying in full detail a single step in the calculation. For example, to take a number from a particular place in the core store and add it to a number in the arithmetical unit, or multiply it, or take a result from the arithmetical unit and put it back into a particular place in the store, and so on. Now, what Babbage did was to code each of these instructions on a punched card and let the control unit read each one from there in turn, decode it, tell the rest of the machine to do the appropriate operations, and so on. But for the electronic computer designers, there was one snag in this. The machine could only read punched cards at the rate of a few hundred a minute, but it could do 1 million arithmetical steps in a minute. How could they give it the instructions fast enough? The answer was to use the store. This could recall numbers fast enough for the arithmetic unit. It could also be made to recall instructions. After all, the store simply dealt with pulse patterns. It was only necessary to code the instructions like numbers as pulse patterns, and the store could hold them too. So now we have the control unit taking instructions from the store of the machine, interpreting them, and then controlling the whole of the rest of the machine according to the instructions that it takes one by one from the store. This was the last hurdle. The way was now clear to make a computer that could quickly be instructed to do any desired calculation and would follow its instructions faithfully at a colossal speed. Well, these possibilities became apparent in 1946 as the old ENIAC came into service, and immediately people on both sides of the Atlantic set to work to make the first stored program computers. And as I said last week, the first two that worked were here in Manchester and at Cambridge. At last, all we had to do, if we wanted a very long calculation done, was to write the program. And I shall be talking about that next time.